the action. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round two. We've got Marvin the Imp at the bottom of your screen, and we've got AsheAcer up at the top. Let's tell them they're ready to go. Looks like Marvin's taking a mulligan. The second 7 is 4 power, a Kudzu's Technique, an ambitious Mandevilla, and a Defile. Up on the top of the screen, AsheAcer also making a keep with 4 power, an ambitious Mandevilla, a Just Desserts, and a Vine Grafter. So pretty similar hands actually starting out here.
Yes, I'm not so sure about Marvin's hand here. I'd like to see how it's going to develop. Ooh, goes straight away for a random unit and gets a little bit.
Guardian of Spring, a 7/6 overwhelm for 4. Summon the enemy. Player plays an Eye of Winter. That's
right. So a card that I don't believe is an expedition, but because of our direct match system, that's how the game functions with random cards. So it's going to be interesting how it's going to coincide with the actual expedition cards. I'd be curious if AsheAcer find themselves having extra power to use every turn for stunning, or if they're going to opt for using it all up.
Hopefully we'll figure out how to get a DWD to help fix that up for us here in future TNEs, but for now it is what it is.
An interesting feature, for sure. It changes the evaluation of random card generating cards. All right, we're going to see a Mandevilla here. Getting rid of the Grafter. And on the 5-drop, because that Argenport deck tends to do a lot with 5 power, I still want to see, still chooses to stun here. Interesting. Opting for the Just Desserts. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Then that way they can choose not to stun one of the turns coming up because it isn't as impactful. They're not going to take that much damage.
All right, and here comes Mandevilla from AsheAcer, and that's going to be a clean answer to Molder Muck. Not many clean answers to Molder Muck, but it's nice when you knock it out before it gets to attack or block. Lumen Defense, the draw from Marvin the Imp.
Yeah, Lumen Defense would technically make a blocker for AsheAcer's Mandevilla here, but not getting the value that you would get against an aggressive deck. And notably, you don't have to block with all the units that you get off of the Lumen Defense.
Sometimes I like that. Kudzu's Technique. Silence each enemy with flying. That's one way to get rid of a Dichro. I mean, it's still a vanilla 5/6, but a vanilla 5/6 is significantly easier to deal with than Dichro with all the keyword soup on it.
That's right. Definitely. It still does 5 damage, but a lot more ways to block it and block it properly.
Third straight turn with Defile. Draw here for AsheAcer. And now we're going to see these Illumination Wisps come down, thanks to that Lumen Defense, and finally targets for these Defiles sitting in AsheAcer's hands. He's going to use them both. Okay.
I was going to say AsheAcer choosing to Defile the other unit, the one that wasn't blocking, but he chose to Defile both, so that also makes a lot of sense here. And Marvin drawing another power is probably not what he was looking for. That Eye of Winter really, now that the power has been developed, really is not going to be an issue for AsheAcer to both stun a unit and still be able to make substantial plays.
And that's going to put Marvin down to 18, but probably worse than the health total is that second copy of Dichro here, and that's going to be really tough for Marvin to deal with. Yeah, fortunately, Talir's Favorite is not really what you want to draw when your opponent plays a Dichro out.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, absolutely right. Really not the impactful card here. I suspect that. Well, let's see.
All right,
let's see if there's one chance of hope here.
Hey, Just Call Me Al, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome everybody from Just Call Me Al's stream. We really appreciate you being here. We didn't get a chance to see what Marvin got to look at, but this last draw is going to be it.
essentially, I would think. If
Yeah,
it's
so
not
Marvin's
something
got a
in the
Defile and a Withstand in hand. Now, Withstand, we saw, was a big player in a format that has a lot of stun effects. Being able to give your units endurance at fast speeds, pretty nice. His Dichro's hitting hard. It also has regen thanks to dealing damage. So that puts Marvin on at least most a 3-turn clock unless something changes. And here we're going to see the supply lines. So name of the deck here: when you play a unit, it gets +1/+1, then increase the ability by 1. Unfortunately, you kind of want to draw that a little bit earlier when you have units to play. Empty-handed
Definitely.
means no more units coming from Marvin right now.
Yeah, this is it's the heart of the deck, but also not the card we're looking for to kind of stabilize here. That flying Dichro is coming in, and if you mentioned that they also have a withstand in hand, that makes this attack here lethal essentially without
There it
it. But
is.
yeah.
And that's going to take it. So AsheAcer are going to take game number 1 over Marvin the Imp. Remember, these are all best 2 out of 3. So let's take a look over at AsheAcer's deck on Argenport mid-range. There we go.
There are a couple of different versions of this. There's the version that won the previous TNE with. There's a version that Spifferific built for the Open that got to a lot of success. Some of the key differences between those versions are withstand and just desserts here in place of say a card like, and I'm failing on the name here, the 2-cost give all your units endurance and they can't take damage for a turn. That seems to be very, very impactful in this metagame. Curious to see kind of the differences between those two decks play out.
All right, well, we will see going into game 2 here. So AsheAcer up a game, 1-0. Marvin kept a hand of 2 power here, so a little light on power, but they've got 2. They got a blueprints as well, so it's sort of another power there. Mandevella, Kudzu's technique, supply lines, and explain the reach. So getting that supply lines on time here. AsheAcer are going to go down, redraw their 7, but they've also got 4 power, a copy of Exploit, a Defile, and Ambitious Mandevella. So lots of disruption in AsheAcer's hand, kind of waiting for Marvin to go first, and then AsheAcer will disrupt them.
Yeah, quite the another little slow hand from Marvin, but I believe that probably is just the cadence of the deck, and we do see the heart of the deck here, supply lines in hand. Curious to see if AsheAcer goes for sort of the ramp here or the payoff of the deck with the exploit. I would think that going after the ramp would be much more impactful, and they do in fact do that. It almost cuts a turn off of what Marvin wants to be doing here, which is really does make a difference.
That's a good point. When Marvin is playing the expensive cards in the deck and wants to get up to 5 and 6 and plus, slowing them down a little bit is pretty impactful, and AsheAcer recognizing that as well. Marvin not doing anything the first couple turns. Second copy of Supply Lines. Here comes the Vinegrafter. That's something to do. In addition, Marvin's stuck at 4 here on power, so Marvin's going to also need a little bit more power as well. Defile from Ash can take care of that.
Not just slowing them down, but legitimately power screwing them here starting next turn. As long as they don't rip a power drop, they really need to do that here.
And AsheAcer now going to take that opportunity to play out a research lab. Hey, Maveres, thank you so much for the sub. We really appreciate it. Research Lab says once per turn, you may pay 5 to double a unit's attack and health, and that's a permanent change, by the way. So you pay that 5, and unit gets huge, and we're going to see AsheAcer do it here and make a 10-10 Mandevilla lifesteal. That's not normally what this Mandevilla does, but hey, it works.
Yeah, that's a big Mandevilla. Thankfully, there's another Mandevilla coming on the other side, because otherwise this game would be quickly over. Let's see if spending the turn here for AsheAcer immediately follows it up with a Dichro here. That's putting a lot of pressure on Marvin. Wait. Even if the Dichro gets silenced here, it's still going to come in for 10 damage if Ash chooses to pump it.
As you said, Marvin going to go ahead and silence it. Still a vanilla 5/6. Still going to put some damage in a second Dichro is going to be too much. And AsheAcer going to be your winner there in round 2, taking that one 2-0.